Hello, welcome to the Wool Winder podcast. Come and join me for lots of knitting chat and a little bit about my adventure. Hello, welcome to the Wool Winder podcast. This is episode 9. Thank you for coming back. If you've watched me before, it's so nice to see you again. And if this is your first time, welcome, and I hope you enjoy the podcast. So as I mentioned on my previous episode, the last episode, we've begun a new adventure which has brought us to a different part of the country. We're down in Cornwall, and I had wanted to film my podcast sitting in my armchair that I like to do my knitting in our new lounge, with the backdrop behind me of the view of the bay. It's a fabulous view. It's a bit of a distraction for the knitting, to be honest with you, but hey ho. So I'd wanted to show you that, but we set it up and it just blows out. You can't see the shot behind me, or you have to have me so dark that you can't see me, or my knitting, more importantly, maybe. So it's not going to work. So what I'll do now actually is just take you and show you what is sitting immediately behind the camera, what I'm looking out to beyond. So looking out of so we've got this nice bay window. Looking out from the bay window, you can see, looking this way, we've got St Ives, and then we come across the bay and we're going past Godrevy Lighthouse, and that's a National Trust spot. Godrevy, it's a fabulous spot, and then coming round, looking over towards Hell Beach and the other side of the bay. So it's a beautiful spot, and just below us here we've also got the train line, which is one of the loveliest train lines, I think, because it's got this lovely view of the bay and it travels along, sort of weaving in and out of the trees, and you get these nice glimpses of the bay as you go. And last week I did a trip to Falmouth, and I did a little vlog showing my trip on the train, and that will be at the end of this podcast if you're interested in watching that. But it's a lovely little train line. So really enjoying where we are, and it's really interesting actually. I would really recommend anything that you can do to try and step out of your life and sort of take a step back and look into it, and to make those changes so that it makes you look at things differently, and it helps you to sort of see what's important, what's not important, what changes you could make. So it's been really interesting so far. So anyway, on to the knitting, and I've got on here my ranunculus, and you'll remember from the last episode, I'd said 2 episodes ago when I was on holiday in Suffolk, help, what do I do? Started knitting it, not so sure about it, and you came back with lots and lots of really helpful comments, so thank you, because it's taken me on a little mini journey with my knitting that I really appreciate. So people were saying they love the colour. They were saying, look, you've done the hardest bit first, I've done the yoke, the easy bit's now to go, so stick with it, won't take long. So that's what I decided to do, and so I did knit it. So I'd done the yoke, I popped it back on the needles, and I did the raglan increasing, and for size 4 for me, which is interesting actually, because I didn't allow it with the greatest amount of positive ease, because Midori gives a wide range of suggestions of positive ease, and I'm just trying to think. I think I did something like about 8 inches. I don't think I'd go any less than that. I think I'd maybe go a bit more, to be honest, the next time I do it. I followed the pattern very much as the designer Midori had written it, because I wanted to, she's got lots of really interesting ideas, and I wanted to experience those and sort of, you know, see what I liked and what I didn't like, with a view to doing another one. And so that was been really interesting as well. You know, she's got this interesting, so I did the tighter of the 2 cast on necks, and that was really interesting, has come out really nice. I've done it with the shorter sleeves. I've done it the crop version that she suggested. As I said, I did it in size 4, and it's kind of a bit drapey. Actually, I'll put some shots in here, and you can see me standing up, and it's got this lovely twisted rib at the bottom, and I really like that. But I was really taken with that, and it's interesting, I've done a twisted rib before, but I think maybe because it was in cotton, and this cotton really shows the textures really nicely. It's a soy cotton, which I picked up from the Summer Wool Festival. It's a double knit, 50% organic cotton and 50% soybean. So that shows off the stitches really nicely, including the twisted rib at the bottom, which I particularly like. That's probably my favourite part of it. But also it's quite interesting how it's like a netting shopping bag, for anybody that remembers those. It looks quite small, and then this is the ranunculus, and then you put it on and it kind of grows in the same way that those netting shopping bags used to. So no, it's really lovely. Thank you very much for everybody's comments. It's one of the things that's really lovely about knitting, is that community aspect of it, and yeah, it's really helpful to be able to share that, and not just helpful, it's lovely to be able to share it with everybody. So thank you. So I have got 2 finished projects today, which is a little bit more unusual for me. So my other one is my Felicia cardigan. So if you'll bear with me a moment, I shall just go off and change into that. So here is the Felicia cardigan. It's knitted in Blue Fern Yarns 4-ply yak, and it's a very soft, lightweight, fairly drapey sort of yarn. So actually it works really well for what I had in mind, which is a lightweight sort of dress cardigan to put over a dress when it's that little bit cooler. You know, spring, summer evening, autumn, that sort of thing. So it works really well for that. The yarn is a superwash, and my initial thought was, oh well, that's good, it'll probably make it be easier to wash more regularly, and as it's something I think is probably going to be put on and taken off and what have you, that, you know, that would work quite well. And then I saw an article about how much superwash can grow, and that's something I hadn't actually experienced. So I wasn't sure whether it was going to be an issue with this yarn, so I was a little bit worried about that. So what I did, I have got my knitted test gauge, you know, as you do to get your gauge. And one of my favourite things to do with these is to actually test them in the wash. I mean, you know, sometimes if it's been something you think you might be able to get away with throwing in the machine, you know, like baby knits and that kind of thing, it's a good way to be able to test it. So I thought, well, what I'm going to do, I will put it in and do the wool soak as I want to do for the main garment, and see how that comes out. So measured it, I soaked it, treated it exactly the same way that I was going to treat the full garment, dried it out and measured it again, no difference. So great news. So then I've gone on and done this, and it's blocked beautifully. It's funny because it really changes colour when it's wet, and I'm not so sure I like the colour. It goes like a muddy green sort of, but it's come back now to its beautiful happiness yellow. That's the shade Happiness. So yeah, I'm really pleased with that. So the Felicia cardigan, it's top down. Let me show you some pictures so that you can see it on me. So it's top down. It's got this lovely detail on the raglan shaping where you've got the eyelet pattern, which is really pretty. It's got I've put 2x2 ribbing on it, and these lovely little buttons that I bought from the St Ives craft shop, and that was a great find because to find something that was the right size, the right colour, yeah, I was really pleased with those. So I popped those on, and yeah, it's looking really nice. It's got quite a wide neck, but I think I'll get used to it. I don't really think that's a problem. I think it's just something I need to get used to. But it's nice that you can button it up because then that holds it together. And I don't usually do buttons, but actually because of the drapiness of this, it seems to be working. So as I say, I've knitted it top down. You started off by doing a piece of the ribbing. Then you picked up the stitches, this across the back, picked up the stitches, and then you carried on increasing on your raglan stitches, increasing coming down the ribbing, so you're basically coming out this way down to the sleeves, dividing for the sleeves, and then straight down with the body on 2x2 rib. And the same with the sleeves, you're going down. Now with on the pattern, the sleeves stop at the elbow, and they're straight down to the elbow, no decreasing. I decided in the end I did want that longer sleeve, so I got to just before the elbow and I started doing decreases once every 6th row. So you can see we've got the line going there, so either side of the end of round marker, I think it was 1 stitch in on each side, I was doing a decrease and doing that every 6th row, and I did that until I had six stitches more than I should have for the rib, and then did a rapid decrease of those 6 stitches right at the rib. And as I say, 2x2 rib. The pattern calls for an Italian bind off. I've not done one of those before. I like to, where I can, try and do what the pattern suggests, at least initially, and see what I think and how it works out. So I wanted to give that a go. Very much like doing the Kitchener stitch. So you've got your yarn on a darning needle, and you're going in to the 2 stitches and then back again the 2 stitches and then dropping them off. Now 2x2 rib, the Kitchener stitch, you have to change the stitches over in the same way that you would a cable, so that you're on a 1x1 rib. So you have to move the stitches around, as I say, like you would a 1x1 cable, so that you've got that 1x1. So I did that on the main body, and it does look nice, but there is that almost like cable kick look to it where you've swapped these stitches over, and I wasn't sure about that, so I did a bit more research, and I found that actually there is a way of doing it without doing that. I think it was Suzanne Bryan that I followed, and I'll put a link down in the notes to the video that I followed to do that, because I thought that was quite useful. And so there is a way just where you're going straight into Kitchener stitch without rearranging the stitches, and you're doing 2 knits and then 2 pearls and 2 knits, 2 pearls, and that came out, and I'll show you, I'll put up a photo to show you the 2 different ribs, the 2 different cast off ribs, and you can have a little look and see what you think. It's personal choice ultimately, but yeah, I liked it. So that is my Felicia cardigan. This is going to be a lovely, practical, well-used cardigan, I think. It's yeah, I think it's good to have different, you know, statement pieces. What's the point in hand knitting if you don't have your statement pieces? But equally, I can't bring myself to go out and buy a shop bought staple wardrobe knit, you know, when I can knit that as well. And I think with the Felicia as well, because it's got this little detail here, and the nice 2x2 ribbing and everything, and the little buttons, there's a bit more to it than there would be something that I'd just bought from a shop. So I've finished 2 items, so it's time to cast something new on. I've decided to cast on the Lanark sweater, which I have talked to you about before, and said that I'd ordered yarn from Stitches and Cream in Falmouth, which is where I'm going on my little journey at the end of this video. So I have bought some double knit yarn, West Yorkshire Spinners, the Croft. It's a Shetland wool. It is 100% Shetland wool. It's got a nice grippy sort of feel to it, but it's not hard, it's not rough, and so I have started the Lanark sweater. So I cast on with Judy's Magic Cast On, which I'm familiar with using for toe-up socks. Went through a stage for a while where I did a lot of toe-up socks and used Judy's Magic Cast On. In this situation, you're using it a little bit differently, because where you're doing it for socks, you're knitting a row, you're casting on a row of stitches on the top needle and the bottom needle. And I started off doing that, and then I put the lower stitches onto a barber cord, and then started knitting in the half fisherman's rib on the other set of stitches. So the half fisherman's rib I've done before, but I've always done it by knitting into the stitch below, and Rebecca says you can do it that way, but she does it the yarn over way. So I thought, well, I've not done that before, so yeah, let's give that a try and see how we go with that. And started off fine, but somewhere along the lines my brain keeps making so there's 2 rows, and it keeps making a combination of those 2 rows, so it takes elements of one part of the row, of one row, and one part of the other row, and then combining it, and then of course the pattern's going wrong. So having done that once, I've now put in a lifeline. I don't know if you can see that yellow yarn, which you might recognise from the Felicia cardigan, and that's my lifeline. So it means that if I realise I have gone wrong again, I can undo my knitting back to that point, and then all the stitches will be sitting there to easily pick back up onto a needle. The difficulty with something like half fisherman's rib, as it's a kind of brioche stitch, is that you've got slip stitches, and of course you've got the yarn overs, and that's so it makes picking up the stitches when you drop back down more difficult, and if you don't pick it up right, of course it still won't look right, so you potentially could be starting all over again, and I definitely don't want to be doing that too often. So I put that lifeline in. I'll probably stick another lifeline in further as I go further along, and then this is the collar, and then I guess once I've folded the collar, and then I think you then bring in these stitches which were on the other side when I did the Judy's Magic Cast On, then I'll lose this lifeline, but probably re-establish some other lifelines as I go along. So the half fisherman's rib is a lovely pattern. I've enjoyed doing it before. I've done it in snoods before, and in a cardigan, and it does make a lovely squishy sort of rib, and I think this is going to be really nice. It's funny actually, because I know when Rebecca was talking about it, when she reissued the new updated pattern, which she's done in response to what some of the writers on Ravelry have put on. She did an updated pattern with videos and extra detail, and she said she envisages herself on a beach wearing this. Well, that's exactly what I'm going to be doing, living the dream, because I'm hoping that I will be wearing this on the beach, just out my window there, on one of my early morning walks on the beach, which I've so far been doing every morning. So yeah, that's exciting. Interesting construction. I think that's partly what is the challenge, but hey, it's always great to have a challenge. I like to have a challenge, and I like to have my more straightforward knit. On the subject of when I went to Stitches and Cream in Falmouth, I also picked up a new bag, and this is made out of sail material from a sail. It's got little pockets that I've got my bits in. It's really lovely and spacious, but it sits, that's what I like, it sits there down by my chair, and it keeps my knitting all contained, so that's lovely. And then when I was getting the buttons yesterday from the St Ives craft shop, a nearby shop had this lovely little, and this is also a sort of buckety type. That's where I've got my Lanark going on at the moment, not very big so far, but yeah, so those two look really lovely sitting together. So Lanark's my complicated knit. Going on to my more straightforward knit, that is still the Plateau by Ericanite, which I talked about in the last episode. So I've got a little bit further with it. This is the second front. I was just on the ribbing when I spoke to you last time. I've got a little bit further. This is knitted in Rowan's Pebble Island. Yeah, just started the shaping. I've worked out the shaping that I was doing because I'm converting it. It was a cardigan that I started last winter, and I'd started converting it from a crew neck to a V-neck. But when I picked it back up, it was at this time I was thinking, okay, what did I do? But I've found the pattern now, so all is good. We're on track. So that's that going very well. And then finally, I have got some nighttime car journeys to do. So it's not been an issue in the summer because it's been light for long enough, because we often travel after work. But I have now we're getting darker, I'm going to have some nighttime knitting to do in the car. And I find it very difficult to sit in the car for a long period of time without doing something with my hands. I'm guessing I'm not the only one. I don't know many people that knit at night in the dark, but let me know. Yeah, it's I suppose I'm doing it by feel, but I can only knit and purl. So it's got to be a straightforward pattern, and that's what I'm showing you now. So I am knitting the Froome sweater, which is from Rowan Quail pattern, Coastal 4 Projects. And this is what I've done so far. So that's the back. So I will be having to manage the stripes in the dark, but I think I'll be all right there. I think there will be enough light to be able to see what I'm doing with that. If I go wrong, if I have to pick up a stitch or anything like that, then I'm in trouble, and essentially I just end up having to put it down. And I also have to check back when I'm in the light to make sure that there wasn't anything that went wrong. But essentially, really, what I do find is while I'm knitting, you're because I'm kind of feeling the stitches, if something doesn't feel right, then I know that I've gone wrong. So, but yeah, I've knitted quite a few straightforward patterns this way. And then when it gets to a point, so this is a straight up and down pattern to the shoulders, so it's a drop shoulder construction. When I get to the shoulders, I will obviously do that a little bit in the daylight, and then I'll cast on and do the front, and then the front will give me some nighttime knitting as well. The sleeves will be different because of course they'll need increases going on, but by then of course I'll have done the majority of it. So yes, that's my little bit of nighttime knitting, my knitting in the dark. So that brings me to the end of my knitting, and it just leaves me to say thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the podcast. If you have, please like and subscribe and help me to build my channel. That would be just amazing. What would also be lovely is if you've got any comments, if you want to tell me about what you've been knitting, if you want to tell me about what you think about anything that I've shown or what I'm going to show coming up, then please, yeah, let me know. That would be really lovely. I do answer back all my comments personally, individually, so it would be so lovely to hear from you. So coming up, we have got a little vlog that I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, where I'm going to hop on a train, which is just down below here where we are, and take it over to Falmouth. So lovely little trip out. It was a beautiful day, so come along with me and I'll show you that, and a few other little bits that we've seen already since we've been here. That just leaves me to say thank you so much for watching. Take care, enjoy your knitting, and I hope to catch up with you soon. Thank you, bye bye.